I want to see these paintings as a window to the past, the present, but also the future, very much like a tarot reading. My name is McGrath Muñiz. I'm an artist from Puerto Rico. The show is titled Arcanas, Neocolonial Retablos Inspired after the Tarot, curated by Daniel de Jesus. The archetypes presented in the major arcana, those are the ones that I'm dealing with here in my work, are really a perfect opportunity to retell the story of the conquest, colonization, and subsequent neo-colonization of the Americas, that is through American consumer culture. The work that is inspiring much of the retablos and altar pieces that you see in this show are really inspired by old masters, the Spanish colonial paintings from the Immaculate Conception of Murillo, Zurbarán, and all the Spanish masters. And I take inspiration from that because those were some of the very first images that I was introduced as a child. My aunt, who took care of me, she was a Catholic nun, retired. She introduced me to all these art history books, and I was just enamored by the images of these Madonnas, these Virgin Marys. Growing up in a capitalist, consumer-driven society in Puerto Rico, which everything gets amplified, living in an island where you have all these franchises competing for attention, it's not hard to see, but of course when you grow up in a place like that, you miss it because you're already used to it. So it wasn't until I came to the US and pursued my master's degree at the Savannah College of Art and Design that I started to remember all the things that really informed and influenced me in so many ways, you know, from Catholic imagery, Spanish colonial art, the works of Jose Campeche, but also being exposed to this amplified version of consumer culture. The way I use the tarot in my own personal practice, my artistic practice, is I do a reading, and from there I interpret the cards as a creative tool. It's quite powerful. You never know what you're gonna find or discover about yourself and about the things that you're dealing with in the world, and tarot is just a perfect tool for that. The fact that the cards already are connected with this whole notion of fortune telling, of divination, of trying to predict the future, I find that quite fascinating. These 78 cards that I really didn't know much about, I started reading about it. I found it quite intriguing, the mysterious figures in the major arcana and what was behind the story of each one of these cards, and tried to see it in a different light. The use of satire and humor in my work is really important because it's a way to channel and translate all these narratives that might be a little doom and gloom and a little difficult to digest. It's a way of trying to translate them in more acceptable terms where we can deal with these issues in a fun way. Also, it's being informed by the archetype of the Fool, because my friend Cesar, who introduced me to this deck of cards, they called him El Loco en el Barrio, who introduced me to the tarot and the whole story of the hurricane, losing my belongings, my artwork, and that was one of the very few objects that I was able to bring with me back from my studio that was destroyed by Hurricane Maria back in 2017. I brought this deck with me to Texas. The show is titled Arcanas, which literally means mysteries, but specifically the major arcanas of the tarot, which are 22, the 21 plus the Fool, which is number 0. So there is an order in the show where you go from number 0 or the Fool up to number 21, which is the World. And the way I see this is almost not so much as an encyclopedia of archetypes that have a chronological order and sequence, but more like a palette. And very much the same way I mix my colors in my palette, going in a gradient roll from white to black or black and white, and all the grays in between. It's the same way you would read this show. What I want people to take away from this exhibition when they come in and see all these works that are multivalent, polysemic, there's so many layers to it, from this esoteric, political, cultural, and things that have to do with history, with community, with this sense of self. Growing up in Aguadilla, you would see the fishermen going out in their jolas, right, in little boats. And this is something that's very familiar to me. But as well, it connects with the whole idea of that metaphor, a metaphorical ship that we're all in, that we're all on board, we're all in the same boat. And what defines us as human beings, as a community, and as self, and that's why I see myself in it. You know, I'm part of this. We're all part of this. And it doesn't matter if it's Harvey in Houston or if it's Maria in Puerto Rico, we all go through, and we're all gonna go through these different events that are gonna be life-changing.